Hello, everyone. My name is Gitika Gorthy, and today I am very honored to be interviewing a very special space champion, Miss Sara Sabry. Miss Sabry is a driven and passionate researcher who is bringing forth experience in mechanical and biomedical engineering into the aerospace industry. She's the founder and CEO of Deep Space Initiative, which is working towards breaking borders with collaborative interdisciplinary research enabling space exploration. Through working in the fitness world, she has developed the self-discipline required to overcome challenges while motivating others around her. She's planning to further her academic track record by finding a suitable Ph.D. position in bioastronautics in the near future. Very exciting, where she can apply her skills to study human physiology in long-duration space flights, and on biomechanics in the spacesuit, and on improving human robotic systems. Oh, and did I mention she's the first female Egyptian analog astronaut? What an inspiration. I can't wait into learning about her journey and what led her into the space industry. So welcome, Miss Sabry. Thank you so much for taking your time to inspire the next generation.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, before we get into understanding where your passion really originated from, could you first tell us more about your typical day? How does it usually run?
So right now I live in Berlin and I have a full-time job. I work at a tech startup. It's not related to space. So I have to really spend a lot of extra hours working on my research and on the NPO that I'm running. So I wake up super early. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I drink my coffee. So I usually, before this past week was super busy, but on regular days, I work out for an hour and then get my space work done in the morning for a couple of hours before I head to work. And then I work on my job. And then in the evenings, usually I have meetings because I work with a lot of people from different time zones. So we schedule meetings after work. So my days are very long, but it's very exciting and I'm very happy to be doing the work that I'm doing. So it's really worth it.
Yeah, I can't wait to kind of dive into those specific activities you're doing the research experiences, and you're also an educator. But before we get into that, you also founded an organization, Deep Space Initiative. And I'm curious, what was your inspiration and kind of motivation to starting it? And what is the vision that you have?
Thank you. That's a really good question. So I'd love to share why deep space came to life. So, but when I first started getting into this, the industry, doing some space research on my own, it was really difficult to find the resources or to collaborate with people because, people are just everywhere. And then when you join different organizations, things are a little bit, let's say, a little bit messy because information is a little bit here. You see people talking here, and then projects are being done just on a completely different platform in the end. So what I wanted to do is make it just easier for everyone. And because also from my experience, I found that being an Egyptian, there's a lot of restrictions when you want to work on certain research topics. So I wanted to break borders and make just space research more accessible to everyone. So that is how I started Deep Space Initiative, and it's been going great so far. So we are building a platform where members could join, they would be put in a team, they would be guided by one team lead, and then that team lead would be mentored by an expert in the field. And then let's say it's divided into 2 phases. So phase 1 would allow them to build a really strong foundational understanding of the topic. So finding the problem first. And then phase 2, we would send a couple of young professionals, or let's say students, maybe in their last years of their postgrads, to do the actual work in a lab or at the company. So we're also in talks with different companies that are interested in partnering with us and different institutions. And yeah, that's mainly the setup of the initiative. But it's really exciting. And this past week, last week actually, when I went to IAC in Dubai, the International Astronautical Congress, we received a lot of interest from different companies and from people who are interested in joining. So I also asked if anyone is interested in doing space research and being guided by an expert and working in a team, to feel free to reach out. We have a website also, and yeah.
Yeah, I'll be sure to definitely link that down below. That sounds incredible. I know, is there an age requirement where there's a certain education expertise level where students can join, or is it kind of open to everyone?
So it's mostly because we want to be doing solid research. So you need to have some background a little bit. So we're mostly targeting either students in their masters. So let's say their masters or or graduates. So maybe young professionals that are in need of some experience that don't have, you know, applied research. Because let's say in Italy, in the Italian system, let's say where I did my master's, it's not really, there's no focus on experimental work. It's mostly theoretical. So we're lacking there some things to do hands-on, you know, to work on real life problems. So this kind of, you know, and I see that a lot of people are having this issue as well. So this kind of, you know, helps you do the research and work with a team and do all of the really cool things and just in one place.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like an amazing like experience, almost like a fellowship or internship experience, but you know, it's more open to everyone and it allows for cool opportunities. It's almost like a mentor-mentee experience, which sounds incredible. And I was, you know, curious, how were you able to take this idea that you had and make it come into real life and make it so successful already at such a young age? I mean, what advice would you give to other young entrepreneurs who have similar goals or visions as you?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I would say just if you have an idea, not to doubt yourself, because sometimes, especially as women, I would say we tend to doubt ourselves a lot more than men. And, you know, maybe if you're afraid to speak out or something and you always have this voice in your head to just shut it off and just believe in yourself and just try to say, no, if you really think this idea could be solving a problem, if you really think that this is a good idea that you're having, just speak about it, speak to other people about it. You might be really surprised by, even if it's such a simple idea, and it could be solving a big problem, because not all problems need, you know, difficult solutions. It could be just a simple solution that it could be, you know, really helping a lot of people. So my advice would be to just to go through with it, even if to not doubt yourself, to just, you know, take the leap of faith, basically.
Wow, that's beautifully said. I know when I founded IgnitedThinkers, like my main goal was to reach out to the younger population and do like workshops and webinars and kind of create like a sustainable way for students to learn space. And I like it was just an idea. And I honestly didn't know if anybody would like the idea or if it already existed or if there were things going on. But I took definitely that leap of faith and reached out to people, and people are so receptive and open. Like I remember I just reached out to you through LinkedIn and I was like, hey, you know, can we do this? And you were so open. And so, you know, I think just taking that leap of faith and just reaching out to people who you look up to, and definitely, you know, they're very open. So yeah, thank you for that advice.
No, yeah, exactly. Like you said, also honestly, people in the space industry are just amazing people. Everyone is just so eager to help. And if you just have so many people that I've reached out to on LinkedIn, that's how we like Dr. Jennifer Fogarty. She's our technical director. She worked at NASA for 14 years and she's a brilliant woman. And that's how I reached out to her earlier this year, just messaged her on LinkedIn, and we had a really nice conversation. And yeah, that's how, so really building connections with people that you might think are, maybe initially you might think, oh no, they wouldn't be interested in what I have to say, or if you're just too intimidated, I would say just, you know, try, you know, just like what you do. And it's really cool and impressive what you do. You just reach out to people, and it's so good to build connections and to really talk to people as if, you know, to just have a conversation. It's really good to have just conversations and to learn about what other people are doing. And yeah, and I really love your initiative. It's really cool. And I think I think it would help a lot of people to just hear about how someone did it or something. So it's really nice.
Thank you. And you know, it's so funny when you were mentioning Dr. Jennifer Fogarty. I actually connected with her through this, you know, this platform, and she's like my mentor now. We have like conversations every month or so because I'm very interested in aerospace medicine, and she is into that sector of like medicine and space. And she's an incredible woman, so I definitely can see how she was, you know, she'd have those conversations and really help individuals. Yeah. And, you know, could you share your experience about being the first female Egyptian analog astronaut? That is a huge feat, I would say. And that's like a huge, you're probably a huge inspiration to many Egyptian students across the world. How would you, you know, what was this experience like? And, you know, how did you come about this opportunity? And what is the research that you did conduct on this mission?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Yeah, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, earlier this year I was approached by the commander of the mission, and I didn't know back then, if I would qualify for such a mission because I was still at the beginning of my research, but the commander just invited me to join because they were missing a medical officer, and with my background, I have a background in engineering and biomedical, so I was kind of fitting for this role. And yeah, he just invited me, and I just also, when the opportunity arose, I just took it, and I just, okay, I'll do it, let's do it. And I had really 2 weeks to prepare for it, and it just really opened a lot of doors for me, honestly. And I didn't know before that I would be the first like female Egyptian analog astronaut. And yeah, I think it's what I would like to do also with Deep Space Initiative is make it more accessible, make analog missions more accessible. So what we're trying to do with the initiative is also send people to do analog missions in different stations. So we're talking with Lunaris in Poland, we're talking with the one in the station in University of North Dakota, and with Chill Ice in Iceland. So we're trying to make it more accessible for everyone. And I would love for more Egyptians to be involved, of course, and because we're the Egyptian women in aerospace that I've met so far are just brilliant, brilliant, inspiring women. And I'm very happy to be calling them my friends even now. So it's just, I mean, yeah, it's really, really, it's really important for people to become more aware of this, that there is such an opportunity, because a lot of people might not even know that it exists, So, and also in Egypt, let's say, or when I was growing up in Egypt, we didn't really learn about space news. It wasn't really on the news. No one would be talking about it. Even when I came back from the analog missions and I was telling, let's say, my friends about, oh yeah, so I was speaking with the Egyptian Space Agency and this and that, and they were like, what? We have an Egyptian Space Agency? I was like, yes. So yeah, it's just, there's just some lack of awareness, let's say, about the space technology or the space news in general in Egypt. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really great point that you bring up. It's not only in Egypt, but it's many countries. I mean, I've grew up in America my whole life, so I probably was in this bubble almost where I was like, oh, everyone knows about technology, but I actually didn't really know about careers in space till a seventh grade rocketry club after school program that I joined because of my engineering design teacher. But until then, I really didn't know that space careers were real. And I was a first generation student in America. So both of my parents grew up in India. So I kind of had a similar experience too. And they had similar experiences to you where they were like, okay, I like, nope, there's something about space going on, but I don't know how I can get into the industry. And I remember when I would talk about, a career in space when I went into middle school because of that club, everybody around me, like relatives, cousins I've had, they were like, oh, oh, okay, is that like sustainable? Is that like a career you can actually go in? And I was like surprised how much they didn't actually know about the space initiatives that are going on. And once I come into this bubble, I'm like, the industry is so big. And I think just making that known to people is it's a big task. I feel like when you're in like the space world, it seems so big, but from the outside, people don't know about it. And my first event through IgnitedThinkers was going to an orphanage in India, and I'm building like model rockets with around 80 kids. And when I talked about space with them, they were just mind blown that this opportunity existed. Before I asked them what careers they were interested in, many were like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, or I want to go into the military. And not one person talked about the aerospace industry. And after the workshop, and many of them were like, I want to be like you when I grow up. And so that just was like really, it was cool to be able to like bring that change. And so I can definitely see how much of an impact you must have brought upon your community, your family, and even beyond to many Egyptians of like, oh, wow, I can be an analog astronaut, or I can even become a researcher in the industry. So that's incredibly inspiring. I'm sure you're very proud of the incredible work that you are doing.
Thank you. It's really, really impressive what you've done. It's super, super important. Yeah, it's just really, really inspiring. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's surprising, when you look from the outside, how much people don't actually know about space is really shocking. And being a part of the industry, we're like, oh yeah, this, but then from the outside, it's like, wow, people don't actually know this. It's crazy. And so
Yeah. I have a funny story actually. So when I first started getting into the, space research, and I did this analog mission, and I really got into it. So whenever my parents would hear about what I was doing, they actually thought that I would be going to space, because it's not really, they didn't know how inaccessible it is, let's say. And they didn't know that, because they, people think that, oh yeah, people are still going to the moon, we've been going to the moon for like 60 years now, I don't know. They don't know the real, what's been, that actually, no, we haven't been there in decades. And so it's really interesting to see that, yeah, we really need a lot more, we really need to share this news a lot more, because it's so important, and it really applies to so many different fields on Earth. It really helps with so many different things, for medicine, for the environment, for really all the technologies that we're developing for space applications are directly applicable for Earth. So it's just so important. And yeah, that's
No, thank you for sharing that story, because, okay, so I'm an aspiring aerospace physician, and when I tell people that, they're like, space doctor? Like, is that real? How does that work? Do you just treat astronauts? I'm like, there's actually a lot more to the story. Like, the research that's conducted on, in space, or about astronauts' body in space, will help us understand, treating conditions here on Earth. A lot of things in space happen, like bone degradation, much faster than it happens here on Earth. And so understanding how that happens in space and translating that into solving medical treatments or medical conditions here on Earth, it's really cool. And so when you find those intersections and just learn more about the human body, we're going to discover so many things we didn't know before. So the direct application is very exciting, and just making that known to people, it's going to be awesome. Yeah. And
yeah, definitely.
yeah, and I was reading how you are an educator. You've been educating others through different fellowship opportunities, through research experiences. And so I'm curious, and you're also part of SGAC, Space Generation Advisory Council. So you're part of a lot of things. And I'm curious of two things. One, could you share how you got involved in all of these programs? How did, because both of your parents are not very involved in the industry. So how were you able to find those opportunities to grow in the industry? And also, how do you make time for everything?
Those are really good questions. Yeah, when I first got really interested in space research, and I wanted to directly apply all of my skills, all of my previous skills, to help space exploration. So I decided that, yeah, I could use my skills in mechanical engineering for this, or biomedical engineering for that. And then I found that, oh yeah, there's actually a lot more that you could do with, with that. And I saw also that there is a lack of, like we were saying, a lack of understanding of the importance of everything. So that's kind of what pushed me into, trying to be also someone who talks about it, or who kind of pushes people to understand how important this is. So that's kind of that was my motivation for it, to really help people understand how important it is. And especially in Egypt, let's say, it's really important for the public to but to be supportive of it, because a lot of people, when you tell them, oh yeah, we should be going to space or that, we're like, oh no, we should solve the problems that we already have on Earth. But there's this also lack of understanding that by solving problems that we would, that for space applications, you would be solving problems on Earth. So that's kind of my motivation to be, to get into the SGAC, or, to be involved in as many organizations as I could, and yeah, it is quite challenging to, have, to balance my time. But so right now, because with the Deep Space Initiative, I'm finding myself a little bit staying, focusing on that a little bit more than my work with SGAC or Moon Village Association. So I'm taking some time off from my work in the Moon Village Association. So I was completely open with them. I communicated with the co-chairs, and I told them, so look, I need to, focus, set my priorities and focus a little bit more on this. So I paused my work with them, and I would be going back to it maybe early next year. So that's how I am able to balance things, because if I have too much on my mind all the time, if I have to worry about leading a team with Moon Village Association, because that requires a lot of work, and if I have to work, be communicating with people all the time on this and that, it would make me not give my all to one thing, which would mean the quality of work that I would be putting in those few things at the same time would not be ideal. It wouldn't be I wouldn't be doing my best. So I decided to kind of limit a little bit what I do and just focus, let's say, on 3 things, which is already a lot, but at least I'm not focusing on 5, you know? So I paused a couple of projects that I had going on and dedicating now my time, because I'm also applying for PhDs, and I have my full-time job, which also takes a lot of time, and yeah, and with Deep Space Initiative. So that's kind of how, and yeah, like I said, my days are very long. So sometimes it feels like my week is just one very long day, but it's really worth it in the end. I honestly, it doesn't really feel like work. When I do the work in the morning, it's just, I really love it and I lose track of time. So I think that's a good indicator of, you know, you doing something that you're passionate about, when you get into this flow, you know, when you don't feel like time is passing, or you don't feel like you're getting like it's work, or like it's tedious, or if it's, you know, you're like it's, you know, like you have to really push yourself to do it. At least in my experience, it just comes natural, and I'm very happy to be talking with people about it, or, you know, helping anyone, you know, when it comes to them getting started in the industry. Because I remember for me, it was, you know, I'm trying to make it a little bit easier for others than it was for me. So it's just, I think it's just worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that response really just showed your passion for the industry. I think, you know, waking up at 4:30 can seem very difficult, but you find it easy and you're still able to put in time to exercise and still do so many things. And that just shows, you know, you really have like a dedication to what you are doing and discipline, which is it's amazing. It's something that all of us have to learn. Discipline is like the number one thing in life, and you're able to balance that. And of course, there are days where you just like, you know, you don't want to do it, but then the fact that you were able to find that career that you're really passionate about is it's just awesome to see. I can definitely see the passion kind of coming through the screen. So that's exciting. I'm so glad. And I think we've been kind of going around the main question, which is what really got you excited about space? I mean, how did you discover your passion? I know for many it's like a movie or it's like a club. I mean, for me it was a rocketry club. So I'm curious, what was your, you know, spark that you were like, wow, this is something I want to explore further?
Um, if I'm gonna be honest, I think the whole thing started with me being interested in the physics of the universe. I would be really, really, I would, you know, I would spend my free time, let's say, just watching YouTube videos, trying to understand some concepts that seemed just so mind-boggling, you know. And I tried, the more I learned about it, the more I found out that there's so little that we know. And a part of it is because of, you know, we need to really kind of push the frontiers of science and really push, you know, technology to be able to, you know, leave Earth and see what there is out there, you know. And that just got me thinking, wow, I'm super curious about that. So why don't I apply my skills in helping it, you know? And it just seemed so natural to me, the progression of all of my past education. Everything seems just to click in one. It just felt so smooth. And I don't know, I was also inspired by a couple of movies, of course, and it's just a combination of things. And it just honestly felt like, it sounds a little bit cheesy to say this, but it just felt like the universe was pushing me towards it. And it felt like, oh yeah, when I learned this in my bachelor's, that kind of, you know, helps me now. When I learned this in this one project, it helps me here right now. And, you know, it just felt like all the tiny little puzzle pieces were just being put together, and it just kind of unfolded and made me realize, oh wow, so this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it just felt natural. And ever since then, I was lucky to find, I feel honestly so lucky to have found something that I'm really, really passionate about. And I try my best to help anyone around me to find their passion, or, you know, to help them be, you know, super excited about something, because I feel so thankful and I feel so blessed, honestly, to be so excited about something. And so I honestly wish that everyone could find something that they're this passionate about, that, you know, that gives them this fire inside, because it's so important to have, you know, like I see you also, like you're super passionate about it, and you really, you know, you're driven, you want to do this, you want to speak to this person, you're, you know, going to India, like you said, and it's so inspiring. And it's just so important for everyone to have this. And, you know, everyone should have this spark, you know? And yeah, so I think that's how it started. It's just like from curiosity and just everything clicking and being put in one place.
Yeah, and it's not cheesy at all. Like I've felt that feeling so many times, especially this year, because next year I'm applying for colleges and everything, and I kind of look back and I'm kind of reflecting on what has happened the past 6 years when I discovered what's really the space industry is all about, and I was like, wow, like I. I didn't know about this. Like I've always wanted to go into medicine because I've always been interested in the human body, but like I didn't realize how much there was in the space industry and kind of putting the dots together, whether it be my NASA internship experiences or the summer camps I accidentally clicked on and happened to be a part of somehow, and just kind of seeing the dots come together. I'm like, whoa, because I didn't know space medicine was a real career until like a year and a half ago. I didn't know that was real. I just always had it in mind, and then I found out it was a real career. So I think I can definitely see the dots kind of coming together, and I think that's amazing that that's a real reason why I founded IgnitedThinkers, was to help everyone find that like spark for space, and everyone has a unique that innate curiosity, and just kind of taking it a step further and helping everyone feel excited about what they do is the main reason. And that's awesome. And did you have obstacles? I mean, I'm sure you did. Everyone has obstacles in every stage of their life, but what were there obstacles, and if so, how were you able to overcome them?
Yeah, of course. I'm also, yeah, I've had to face a few obstacles, of course, and like everyone, like you said, it's never one straight line, and it's always you always just have to try to keep in mind that if it's, yeah, I mean, it's not really, I don't want to sound super cheesy again, but but yeah, I think some of the obstacles that I faced were mainly due to a few things. So yeah, of course, growing up in Egypt, you're not really exposed to this, so it didn't really, and so it didn't really start very early on, but also the fact that, yeah, the Egyptian Space Agency is still very new and small, so there isn't that much opportunity there. So whenever I'm talking with them or speaking with them, they don't have space medicine that yet. They don't have, a human spaceflight program. I mean, I don't know how you would call it, but yeah, something like that. So they're still growing. So in that aspect, it's a little bit challenging to think that, yeah, that if I ever do really want to go to space, it's going to be a lot more difficult for me than like, let's say if I don't know, like, let's say if you're from Europe or from the US. So this brings an extra bit of challenge that I know so many people around the world are also facing. So I'm not alone in this. But also, yeah, being a girl, and I studied mechanical engineering, and I was one of, I think, I don't know, 5 or something girls in the whole department. So we were very, very few girls in mechanical engineering. And in that aspect, I think, yeah, you would sometimes, because I was also very busy with my extra, my outside work. So I was also coaching. I had a lot of other things going on at the time. So people kind of underestimated me sometimes. So they thought that, oh yeah, maybe I wasn't really paying that much attention in this, or not paying that much attention in that. So I was kind of underestimated for several reasons. But that didn't stop me. That only pushed me harder. So that's kind of a pro in this, I guess. But I think everyone just faces challenges everywhere. And it's just that you really have to, just push through and try to focus on what you love the most, on what pushes you, and not on any negativity outside, and also to carve your own path. This is one thing that I found that I constantly find myself, doing, and that, even though nothing has been set forth for me, like I've never had, guidance for anything that I'm doing. I've never had, I've never had a mentor, let's say. I've never had, advice from different people. I just had to, yeah, basically really just carve my own path and do what I felt was right for me without hearing other people's opinions. Because yeah, when I wanted to do mechanical engineering, a lot of people were saying, oh no, it's too hard, don't do it. And if I had listened to them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I honestly think that whenever someone asks me, should I be doing mechanical engineering? Should I be doing mechatronics? I say 100% yes. You learn so much by by really understanding how things work, and by understanding that everything around you was built by humans, really makes you feel like, oh yeah, so if someone did it, then so can I. They're also human, you know, everyone is prone to mistakes. Everyone is just human in the end. Everything around you has basically been built by a human being. So once you kind of realize that, oh yeah, once you have, you know, once this clicks and you understand, oh no, I also could do it, you know, why wouldn't I be able to do it? And then you break problems into smaller problems, and then you work slowly into achieving them. You can just, yeah, you can overcome this obstacle. You can overcome whatever you think is, it could be, you know, stopping you from reaching your goals. So yeah, I think that's basically it.
That was a beautiful response. And, you know, were your parents like a supportive, were they the mentors? Because obviously you have a very strong personality. And a lot of girls, I mean, to this day, whether it be like a math or physics major, they're always like, you know, people around them are like, oh, that's too hard for a girl, or they're the only girl in the classroom to this day, which is really surprising. And were your parents there to always support you as like mentors and guidance and kind of give you advice to always step out of your like comfort zone?
I would say, yeah, my parents were very supportive of me. You know, they always made me feel I could do anything. So that also played a huge part in who I am now. My mom is also a biomedical engineer, and she's Lebanese. And back when she was doing her studies, I think she was one of two in her whole department that to have ever graduated from electrical engineering, I think, at the time. So she kind of set the bar really high already. And she was running a hospital like when she was so young. And so she really, I think, even though I don't really ever, you know, admit it or really express it, but I think she really inspired me a lot, because she was kind of a superwoman in that she was working 2 shifts when we were growing up. She was really pushing so hard. And yeah, she's very smart. And I think she's inspired me a lot. And my dad was, you know, in Egypt, yeah, a lot of dads are super protective, of course. And, you know, but a lot of dads are also, I would like, a lot of men in general are very sexist in Egypt, let's say. But my dad was not at all. And I think that was it's sad to say, but I think it's a little bit unique at the time. At least it wasn't really something that was super common to think that, oh yeah, like a girl can do exactly what a guy can do. But my dad said that exactly, so that I was no less than a guy. I could be just as smart or even more than a guy. So I think that also, honestly, now that I think about it, it did play a big role in me believing in myself. Let's say he always thought that, you know, I was capable, and he always thought that, you know, I could do whatever I wanted to do if I put my mind into it. So yeah, I think it did play a very big role to have my parents be supportive of, you know, believing in me, let's say, at the beginning.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, like, I can, when you were saying that, I totally could relate to it with my family. And I'm sure many other girls out there could relate with that statement. I feel like these days there are parents who really push their daughters and are like, oh, there is no such thing as like you not being able to do enough as a guy. And I think that's beautiful. And your work and your accomplishments are definitely a testament to how you were raised. And I think that that's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. And my
Thank you.
last and final question for you to kind of wrap up everything is what advice, which you've given plenty throughout the interview, but what final piece of advice do you have for young students regarding pursuing a passion in the STEM industry, space industry, really anything in general, something you wish someone told you when you were in high school or undergraduate?
My main advice would be to just not doubt yourself, to not listen to that voice in your head that always pushes you down, because we always, the toughest person you would ever have in your life would be yourself. You know, that person would be the one that is most critical of everything that you do. And sometimes being critical is good because it pushes you harder, but sometimes the doubt that it creates kind of holds you back. So not listening to this doubt that you have, and just, you know, speaking out about things in general. And if you have an idea, that's kind of my main advice, to share your ideas, because having ideas makes you who you are, really. And having ideas, it comes from all of your past experiences and your own perspective. And it comes from so many outside and, everything that just accumulated throughout your whole life. It is what gave you this specific idea, or those like different ideas that you're having. And this is what makes you you. So sharing your ideas and not being afraid to speak out is really, really important. I find also, like you said, for girls especially, we're usually taught to not speak out. And now I work in a company in Berlin, and the thing I loved the most about it, and that's kind of what made me take the job, was when I was interviewed, they really listened to me. And that was the most important thing to me, for me to be heard. So that if I have an idea, that I can share it freely without feeling judged, or without feeling like, oh no, they're gonna think that it's a stupid idea, because we're all having this doubt inside. And it's the key is to just, not listen to it and just follow really your instinct. Your instinct is you, really, it's just you. And just listen to yourself, and just, if you want to do something, just do it. If you have this one problem that you think is really difficult to solve, and it's been on your mind for so long, then choose that one and work hard on it. Don't choose the easy thing. Don't take the easy path. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Just, if there's something that's really staying in your mind and you always have it, choose it. Just go with that specific one that's, is really there. And yeah, to just that's basically the main thing, to just follow your instinct also.
Yeah, always believing in yourself and tackling that problem where you're really passionate about, and just trusting yourself to take that first step is very, very important. And we all, whether it be pursuing the next grade level that we have, or the next college degree we have, or the next job or internship experience, just always keeping that in mind, that even if you don't think you're going to get in, just try. You never know. And so just kind of taking that leap of faith is always so important. So I want to thank you so much, Miss Sabry, for taking your time, because I was extremely inspired, and I'm sure everyone out there who's listening is inspired. And I can't wait to see the incredible things you do. And hopefully one day I'll see you in space. It's going to be so exciting, and I can't wait to see all that you accomplish. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And congratulations. And I can't wait to see where you go as well.
Thank
Thank you.
you.